here are some more confirmations for you all on what Morocco was called before Morocco. You can do a basic search on that. You know, nothing difficult. Right here, historical names of Morocco. Let's see where my cursor is, right over here. It is Mauritania. In ancient times, the region was known as Mauritania. The region was known as Mauritania. Region is not a specific, the region is a whole area. So the region, so y'all got to know how to read the English language. The region was known as Mauritania. It's like saying the western region of America was known as Nevada. The region, oh my God. The region was known as Mauritania. It talks about in ancient times though, so let me say that. Which included parts of modern day Morocco and Algeria. It's not giving you specifics. It's still using a generalization. Kuirmeo makes a comment about people generalizing and generalizations in his videos too. It's funny. It goes back to the culture. This term refers to the prehistoric culture. It's talking about prehistoric. They want to get into older times. But let's deal with this kingdom names, right? Kingdom names of Marrakesh. During the rule of the Almoravids, the Almohad dynasty, the country was often referred to as the Kingdom of Marrakesh, named after its capital city. In the Kingdom of Fez. And I want to mention to you all that the Marrakesh, we're going to get into that too further. Kingdom of Marrakesh. Pay attention to that word Marrakesh, okay? Named after its capital city. Kingdom of Fez. Remember the Kingdom of Fez, okay? After the rise of the looks like the Mernin dynasty, it was known as the Kingdom of Fez, reflecting the importance of Fez as a cultural and political center. Then we get into modern names. And the official Arabic name translates to Kingdom of the West. Why we keep hearing about the West over there? The West being in Morocco over there. That's not even the furthest west on the continent of Africa as is shown to us. That's not the furthest west. More land further west. They didn't know that. And it's inciting its geographical position. You see that? Etymology of Morocco. Etymology of Morocco. Listen very closely to this dude. Listen closely, Kuirmeo. You the one that say people don't listen. The Moors don't know how to listen. They don't research. I'm probably not even 40 minutes into this video and I've already given you more research to things to look at than you did in a 2-hour video on the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. The name Morocco is derived from the Spanish. It's derived from the Spanish. Moristos, which itself comes from the name of the city Marrakesh. So the Spanish name Marrakesh? The Spanish name Morocco? The Berber term Amerruk. Can y'all see this word right here? We're going to do something for you motherfuckers. Means land of God, linking the name to its historical cultural roots. The names reflect on the history and cultural evolution of the region, now known as Morocco. Now known. It didn't say in 1787 known as Morocco. It says now known. English language, now known, means modern. Very modern. Or it would have gave you a specific, it would have been specific and not general. Generalizations there, Kuirmeo? Let's save this word and do something real quick. We're going to do this with the camera rolling. I'm going to copy. And we're going to do a search on the word. We're going to do some research for you during this video since Kuirmeo says that Moors don't research. We're just going to do it right in front of you. We're going to do a search on that word. We got some Facebook posts. Some people have used this word to do research and put information on their Facebook, but I'm not going to go to their Facebook pages. America. This word says America. That's America. A-M-E-R-R-U-K. A-M-E-R-R-U-K. Morocco. Boy, that word looks like America, doesn't it? And we go on to some other references here, but A-M-A-R-R-U-K. Right here. Now let's do something different. Since we just did some research right in front of Kuirmeo, since he says we don't do research. And we're just using basis. This is not even what I would normally use to, I'll do some other digging on another program I have that deals with ancient words. I'm just going to type in the word America here as referred to America and see what comes up. Well, goddamn. The term America, it goes back to an Italian, going back to Vespucci. We kind of covered that. That's basic information, but I used the Amerikish word referred to as America. And naming of the Americas is what popped up. Okay? Naming of the Americas. All this naming of America. It does not say that those words are not related. That A-M-R-R-U-K is not related to the word America. Naming of the Americas links comes up. Sounds like they're in reference to each other. Kuirmeo, Morocco, and America. Just some quick oral tradition information here. This is called the Land of the Eagle. Just a map here. Land of the Eagle. You got Egyptus, which is Tamari. He talked about criticizing Moors about using Tamari. Like that's not in documents. You have Morocco right here in Indiana. You have Alexander the Great's tomb in Illinois. You can read a book called The Lost Treasures of King Juba by Frank Joseph, who also got information from the Washita. There's videos of Frank Joseph speaking with the Washita 20 years ago. These videos was about 15, 20 years old, before I even heard of Kuirmeo. Frank Joseph, the author of The Lost Treasure of King Juba, The Lost Treasure of King Juba, was speaking with the Washita about historical events in the Americas. But you have Alexander the Great's tomb, you have Karnak, Cairo, Illinois, and of course you have the mounds right outside of St. Louis, the Cahokia Mounds, which are all over the territory. There's actually a very larger one right near St. Louis, if you know what to look for. It's an even bigger one than the one they show. You have Thebes right here. You have the Nile River, which we all know is the Mississippi River. You have Alexandria here. You have Cahokia. I mentioned Cahokia, which is right up here, actually. Land of Goshen. And, of course, you have going down into Tennessee, Nashville, Memphis, the whole thing. Land of the Eagle. Once again, another reference to Morocco and Illinois, the original Morocco. Excuse me, Morocco and Indiana. One of the territories of Morocco. Just oral confirmations here. Oral. Now we're going to continue with Kuirmeo reading the treaty. We established where Morocco may have been. We're going to get into more of that too. There's some more connections with Morocco on where it was. And even, as I forgot to mention to you earlier, Africa was not known as Africa until the mid-1800s. Before that, it was called Akibalan. So when he talks about Morocco being over there in Africa, Africa wasn't even called Africa until the mid-1800s. It was known as Akibalan. In history, a lot of times they're backdating information. They come out with books and they say that this place was called something 100 years ago that it wasn't known as. Just like if you see pictures of, I seen in one book it had The book was had a picture in it from the 1930s, and it said a group of African Americans standing by a car, and it had the date of January something 1930. Well, the problem is this, is that those people weren't called African Americans in 1930. So what were they really? They could have been Colombians. So once again, history has done that with backdating of names, using modern names in times where they didn't apply. So we're going to continue with Kuirmeo's reading the treaty, and we just kind of skipped along a little bit. We didn't go too far, and let's continue with Kuirmeo's translations of, reading the treaty from a translated document, translated into the English language from 3 other languages. But let's continue. And he says it's a primary source, by the way. But let's go.
Yeah, just leave us, just like, pretend you didn't see it. A signal or pass shall be given to all vessels belonging to both parties. So, shipping, right? Trade, merchandise, transportation, right? Between both countries, United States, and we're going to talk about when they say United States, what it means, who they talking about. That's just the point of today's video. Okay? But so far, just understand that. They're like, hey.
He still doesn't know who the United States is. He doesn't know it's a company that was started by Europeans using their nationalities as backing to who they represented. It was a company. He just said between both nations. United States wasn't a nation yet. It was a company. But also here, what you want to look at is a signal or a pass shall be given to all vessels. Vessels, okay? It doesn't necessarily say boats or carriages. It says vessels belonging to both parties. What you would have to do is do an Old English search on the word signal or pass and do an Old English search on the word vessels, so you can understand what this really means. This is about commerce, but a signal or a pass shall be given. That refers to me offering one of my tribesmen associates to board your vessel to make sure you are going where you're supposed to go. And sometimes it would be a group of people. And to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do so you don't violate the treaty. So you don't get in the way of other nations. You don't go into their lanes of doing business. You stay in your own lane. I have to make sure I have people with you to make sure you do that. Remember, the U.S. asked for the treaty, which is the context that he did not give you. They asked for it because they were the ones that were in need, desperate need. So when he's giving you these, when he's reading this to you, if you don't have the proper context that he's not giving you of the Old English words, then you would have to go back to Kufic, Mughrabic, and Arabic to get the original etymology of what they meant. Okay? Because vessels is, that can be interpreted to be different things here. So let's continue a little further. I've got some points I want to make. Once he gets to some certain things he says here. So let's go a little further.
Our ships go back and forth between, our empires, freely, by which they are to be known when they meet at sea. If the commander of a ship of war of either party shall have other ships under his convoy, the declaration of the commander shall alone be sufficient to exempt any of them from examination, right? So
now, I also want to point out to you, as he mentions of our ships, this has to do with the technology of history, letting you know that it had more to do with just coastlines. A ship is something that flies in the air. A boat is something that goes onto water. And here I would encourage you all to look at what's called zeppelins, which are ancient airships that flew on free energy. And they could go pretty fast based off of just free energy. You would call it a modern day blimp, but the name is Zeppelins. So look into Zeppelins. They've always been around since day one. They've been around. There's ancient technology. Just wanted to point that out to you about what the meaning of a ship is, as opposed to what the meaning of a boat is, the origin of the terms. Let's go.
Come pirate us, don't attack us, don't loot us, don't, because that's what, see, we're going to have context by the end of the video.
We're going to have context by the end of the video. Context is something that you give a motherfucker before you start, so they know what happened initially before the treaty started. The context is going to be first, as I define what a context is for you, setting the background of what was happening. He just said we're going to have context by the time we get to the end. Well, you going backwards? And he's trying to say who's not educated, who doesn't research? Messi! We're going to have context when we get to the end. This is y'all scholar, man. This is you guys is just as you guys' boy. Let's go a little further.
What they're not telling you in this treaty is that these North African countries, Morocco, Algeria, Tripoli, you know, like they were pirating, and they controlled the Mediterranean. Nobody was passing through there without their authorization. And if they...
Okay. These places were pirating the Mediterranean. There's a film. Let's set the proper context again. We're dealing with historical narratives when you're reading history. Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean. The majority of this was taking place in the Caribbean. I'm going to prove to you later on by what was the main thing being traded as to where this was taking place. It was in the Americas. He just said these African nations, these Algerians, Moroccos was pirating. You couldn't get through there unless you dealt with them. Pirates, pyra, were known as policemen of the seas or policemen of the coasts. They had codes and rules that was shown to you by the word parlay. The pirates parlay.
Parlay. Parlay? That's the one. Parlay. Parlay.
Parlay. Damn to the depths whatever mutton they thought of parlay.
That would be the French.
They were not as rugged and ragged and savages as history has made them out to be. They were making sure that people were staying in their own lanes of trade and commerce. And when you tried to do some sneaky shit, they would run up on you and seize your vessel and take everything you had because you was on some sneaky shit. Pirates were also made up of various nationalities and tribes of people. They did it specifically so you couldn't blame it on one nation. This was a nation over here that came and seized if it was a conglomeration, now you had to face the facts that you were doing something wrong because everybody could account. It was more than just one nationality of people. That's why they show you in the films, you'd have an Asian or an Asian looking pirate, an English looking pirate with a patch on his eye. You'd have an African looking pirate. This is why they're showing you various nations, because they were making sure that commerce was done correctly. Initially, that's what they were doing. So, This is more of the context of the backdrop of what was happening, since Kuirmeo cannot give you a context, and he hasn't given one yet, as to what was going on and even who was who in these territories in the Caribbean, primarily. The Bahamas has over 100 goddamn islands. Was it 1,000 or is it 100? I forget how many islands it has. That territory is massive with islands. So there's a lot of things people could do. It was so you just couldn't do what the U.S., what the Union Society had tried to do, was go buy some ships from some other people that knew how to make them, and then get out there on the coastlines, not the high seas, and then start to set up trade with tribes not going through the proper chains. So this is kind of the backdrop of everything. Let's continue with Kuirmeo's translations here.
They were at the mercy of them doing whatever they wanted to them. So they're saying, hey, you guys though, you guys can come and freely pass through here, and we can go to your shores and do the same, and you can't F with us, right? That's the deal, right? Okay, cool.
We can go to your shores and do the thing. Remember this, you guys can pass through our shores. This is what he just said, what he said. He's giving his personal interpretation of what this treaty is saying, by the way. Sometimes he's correct when he talks about commerce. Other times he's absolutely wrong. You can come to our shores and pass through. A pass is I'm putting people on your vessel, my people on your ship. Or I'm putting people on your carriage to make sure you're doing proper, you're doing what you're supposed to do. There's no way around it. A pass is not, I'm letting you walk by. When you pass a football, it's something you throw from yourself to the other individual. That pass is people to make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do. Let's go.
If either of the parties shall be at war and shall meet at a vessel at sea belonging to the other, it is agreed that if an examination is to be made, it shall be done by sending a boat with 2 or 3 men only, and if any gun shall be fired, any injury done without reason, the offending party shall make good all damages. If any more shall bring citizens of the United States, okay, pay attention, but we don't misinterpret stuff here.
Listen to how arrogant he is, so we don't misinterpret stuff here. It wasn't the United States yet. They barely had colonies. It was the Union State Society, or the U.S. company. Let's go.
If any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects. So, something very important here. When they're saying more here, they're talking about them. Them in Morocco.
He just said that again. This is the second time he said, when they say more, they talking about them in Morocco. Y'all remember that. Y'all remember what he's saying here, because he's going to put his foot all the way in his mouth later on 2 times. He's saying Moors are over there in Morocco and Africa. Remember that. This is almost like the 3rd time he's said it. What's the 2nd for sure? Let's go.
So if he shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to his majesty, the citizens shall immediately be set at liberty and the effects resorted in like manner. If any more, not a subject of these dominions, shall make prize of any of the citizens.
Hold on, stop right there. Stop right there. Here, remember he just said a Moor is from Morocco? Moors are over in Morocco and Africa? He said that, right? Okay. It says right here, he read it. If any more, not. If any more, not a subject of these dominions. If any more, not a subject of these dominions. If any more, not a subject of these dominions. Hold on. What other Moors can there be? If any Moor not a subject of these dominions, what other dominions can a Moor be a subject of, motherfucker? If Moors are over there in Morocco and Africa, you are a liar. You can't even read what's in front of you. If any Moor not a subject of these dominions, how could any Moor be a subject of any other dominions if the Moors is only from Morocco and Africa?
Got him! Got him!
You see, we have to make it plain for you. We have to show you. We have to give you the primary sources. We have to lay it out in front of you because you're blindly following your leaders. You're blindly just repeating your leaders. You don't know how to read. You're going off basic emotion. You don't know how to read what's right in front of you. You come in here, you're just salty. You're just babbling. You're babbling on. We have to make it plain for you. If any Moor not a subject of these dominions, if any Moor not a subject of these dominions, every time Kuirmeo says Moors, he always says they're from Morocco or they're from Europe, which goes back to the ones that came from Morocco. And the Moors have been telling you, showing you, not even just Moors. I got a good friend that don't call himself a Moor, but he knows this history. He knows the Moors are indigenous bloodline to the earth. He don't debate that. Let's read this again. Maybe we should drop the mic right here for Kuirmeo. If any Moor, not a subject of these dominions, comma, hold on, comma, pause. If any Moor, not a subject of these dominions, comma. If any Moor, not a subject of these dominions, what other Moors can there be? What other Moors are out there? What other Moors are not a subject of these dominions? What other Moors are there, Kuirmeo? You say the Moors are just from Morocco, just from Africa, or they got to be from Europe as colonizers. What other Moors are out there? We have to make it plain for you because you don't know how to listen, because you don't know how to read. People, I'm not sure. It's becoming to me more obvious as I go through this video bit by bit what this guy Kuirmeo is really all about when it comes to the Moorish paradigm in the Americas and the world. This is a mic drop right at this point right here. Moors, make sure you go to number 6 and make sure y'all read through it a dozen times and show it to people and do just what I just did. Even if you're not a Moor and you just want information. He said, y'all don't know how to read. We're going to read it so nobody can say what's being added, so nobody can say what's being changed. This is what he said at the beginning of the video. We're going to just read it. We're going to show you who is benefiting. Wait a minute. Well, goddamn. If any Moor, not a subject of these dominions, shall make prize of any of the citizens of America, or their effects. Now remember this, there's no citizens of America yet. So even this is not a proper translation from the original, because ain't no citizens of America. There's only citizens of the United States. America is Morocco. And you couldn't be a citizen of that. You'd be a subject of Morocco. I'm going to show you all that in a minute too. So even when it says citizens of America, misnomer, citizens of the United States. But even the citizens of the United States hasn't come about yet. Okay? It's basically people that are operating in the territory that the company operates out of, the U.S. company. So if any Moor, not a subject of these dominions. We're going to take a break here, man.